Hello, and welcome to our Innovation Women Ask an Event Manager webinar series. My name is Bobby Carlton. I'm the founder of Innovation Women. Innovation Women is a visibility bureau for entrepreneurial, technical, and professional women. Our mission is to eliminate the all male, all pale, and often all stale panels you see so often at industry conferences and events. We connect women with speaking opportunities and we connect event managers with awesome speakers who just happen to be women. Innovation Women is so much more than just a traditional speakers bureau. Event managers can search our database for free, and speakers pay just $100 a year to become a member. They get a profile on the platform and access to lists of speaking opportunities, as well as a number of other cool benefits. Here are just a few of the great features you find on Innovation Women. Check it out at innovationwomen.com. If you are interested in getting involved or getting on stage, check out our website. For our webinar attendees, we have a special offer of 20% off your first year. Just use the code IWWebinar. That's all in capital letters, all one word, for 20% off your first year. And before we get started with today's presentation, I encourage you to register for our next webinar on June 9th. Katarina Rando will present Get Booked and Fill Your Workshops Without Filling Out Speaker Applications. You'll learn what loud and proud speakers do to ensure everyone knows that you are a speaker, the guiding principle that will fill your virtual or live or in-person workshop room every time, and social media super tips you can use often to increase the awareness that you are a speaker. You can register for this webinar or connect with Katarina on our platform in the Attachments tab. And this year, our Ask an Event Manager webinar series will provide Q&A to your questions. Actually, we'll provide the answers. You provide the questions, exclusive resources, and bonus content from our event managers. You're getting the inside scoop on speaking at events. And before we get started, this is an annotated version of your screen. Below the video viewing window, there are tabs. The default tab is Ask a Question. You can type in a question or a comment at any point during the program. The Attachments or Links tab is where you'll see documents and links from today's presenter and the link to sign up for our next webinar. You can download the attachments at any time during the webinar and from the recording. The tab called Rate This helps us determine what you like. We read all the feedback. You can enlarge your screen at any time to view it in full screen mode. And if at any time you need audio help, your screen freezes, first try refreshing the screen, then feel free to click on the help button at the bottom of the screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, so if you'd like to view the webinar again, you will be able to. We will send you a link after the webinar. So with us today is Women in Clouds, Chaitra I'm going to screw this up, Chaitra. Forget it. Chai, I'm going with your nickname because I know you that well. Not only is she a world-class speaker and a good friend who won't give me a hard time about screwing up her name, she is also an inherent problem solver. She is dedicated to ensuring an inclusive technology industry and economy. Women in Cloud is an economic development organization committed to generating $1 billion with a B in global economic access for female technology entrepreneurs. This is her brainchild, and we are so excited to speak with you today. So,
Thank you, Bobby.
welcome. And
Thank
man, we talk about getting nervous when we speak. And I'm like, I'm going to screw up her name.
I was chuckling when you were trying so hard with my last name. Oh boy, I have to tell my in-laws and my husband that this particular last name, it definitely gets everybody.
Well, I got to tell you, sometimes there's my, time where I'm like, what's my name again? Not enough coffee. Not enough coffee. Not enough coffee.
Yeah, yes. Thank
So,
you for giving me.
uh, anyway, all right. So, let's talk a little bit about women in cloud. I mean, we're not just talking an event or a series of an event, but you've got the whole movement thing going there. Can you talk a little bit about your overall goals?
Sure, Bobby. First is my last name is said as Vedullapalli, so it's Chaitra Vedullapalli. And thank you for having me today. Really delighted and grateful to be with you, Bobby. It's just been a fantastic journey knowing you personally and having a partnership with you. Now, when you talk about the Women in Cloud, it's really, we are an economic development organization, but community led and designed to create $1 billion in economic access for female tech founders in partnership with the enterprise ecosystem and with the communities, because today less than 2% of the digital, I would say, supplier dollars in the Fortune 1000 companies goes towards women entrepreneurs and founders. So we want to change the narrative. So the way we focus on is really three areas. The first one is really focus on the female tech entrepreneurship work and developing innovations by them to really foster the economic development. The second thing is we focus a lot on building partnership with the Fortune brands, the communities, and the entrepreneurs to create that inclusive cloud jobs ecosystem. And the third one we drive is a nonpartisan political advocacy work to advance policies that create and retain economic access for women. So when we think about events, we are thinking about community development. We are not thinking about making money from events. We are not an events organization, and people do label us like, oh, we love your events. So automatically they put their hat saying we are events, but we are not. We really focus a lot on building long-term relationship connections that really unlock the access for each other.
Gotcha. And how did this whole movement get started?
So this journey, Bobby, is very personal. So I left my corporate career and wandered for a year trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And it was a year where I really took time to really understand, do I want to go back to corporate world or do I want to go back into an entrepreneur world? So I took a leap of faith and decided to become an entrepreneur and really build a tech business because I'm a technologist and I've lived in tech industry for 25 years. So it kind of made sense to build a tech business, but also enterprise ready business because it's much easier because I understand the context, I understand the narrative, I understand the alignment and mobilization. But also, I was very clear I don't want to build is a services business, truly a tech business and tech solution. So the path to get access to enterprise contracts were extremely hard. Like they just gated the kind of policies, the kind of relationships you needed. I never had that one. So I reached out to the communities, the Department of Commerce, and every community I reached out. And it was like there was nothing out there for fostering the tech entrepreneurship work for women and really to build a successful $1 million business. So most of the people said you should start with a fundraising angle and meet with the investors, and that will help you open up the opportunity. But knowing how much investment the investors are putting is less than 2% of the investment goes to women entrepreneurs. It was really hard to even get funding from the investors. They said, well, the solution was not ready or you don't have the right customers. So there was a lot of learning that I learned. And that kind of led for me to do a more of a deeper research saying, is it just me that I'm watching or is it something, it's a larger collective issue? And it got validated because we started to do is a cloud ready workshops with Microsoft. And we went on a US tour I met 5,000 plus companies, and I only met 5 women who were in those experience. And it was really validating. And when I asked them, when we were in the restaurants, like, is it really happening like this, or is this only today it's happening like this? They said, no, it's interesting that you have at least women representing. Otherwise, it's filled with men who come to these workshops. So came back, had a lot of aha moment. The research I found was less than 2% of women founders are in the tech channel. That's where the real movement of money happens. Less than 2% of women are getting economic opportunities from enterprise. So I went with my friends back at Microsoft. I said, we have to change the landscape. And can we go and change the narrative to change the landscape for women tech founders? And that's how the Women in Cloud was born. And really grateful to Gretchen and Karen and Gabriella, all these women who came together to say, let's change it. Let's put a 10-year goal and let's commit and see what we can do out of it. And that's where the $1 billion narrative came out from.
Gotcha. So were events part of the plan right from the beginning?
I would say yes, because I'm a firm believer, because I grew up doing events from the time I think I was 8 years old, have always done events more as a community activity. And it was one of the, I'm a firm believer, it's a core strategy for any business or community or economic development. You need to have events. But let me share you where my belief was actually shaken up, and it was and it was tested, because that's when it got tested, then I got validated was events is the right thing. We wanted to test the Women in Cloud idea with the community, because we didn't want it to just launch a program without knowing. And it was in 2019. 2019 was the when we had our first event. We said, let's put our event for 50 people, get it validated, and see what's possible. 2 weeks before the event, there was only 6 registrations. Only 6 registrations. And we were like sitting there with all the founders and like, should we even be doing this one? Then we said, you know what? We have 6 and we have like 5 speakers. I think we can just have a great conversation. So we had a small room at the Microsoft Conference Center, and we were like, okay, let's look at like the last week. And if we don't, we just can bring everybody to a coffee place and have a discussion. And it was a week before the event, the Me Too campaign launched. That is when something literally changed. And then we had 50 people sign up. Then we had 150 people. And we were like, what's going on? And I didn't even have a room. So I had to negotiate with other rooms saying, can we move our event to 150 people? And 2 days before, we had 450 people sign up. So that kind of validated that there was a need. It's just that the Seattle market, people actually sign up 2 weeks before the event. They don't commit. And that's when I knew that events has to be part of a core strategy. And that is the only way we can drive the change and create a momentum for the movement that we are working on.
Got to tell you, folks, real talk with event managers. I had 6 people signed up a week beforehand. Yes. No, only another event manager understands that pain. I got to say. Yes. Okay.
That was scary. And it's still the same story, Bobby. Like every event, we sit there like a month before, and I'm like, why aren't people signed? But don't worry, 2 weeks before the event, people will sign up. And the digital events have made it has validated over and over again that people may not show up, but they will register like a week before.
Absolutely. All right. So last year, I got to be part of your big annual Women in Cloud event. I was so impressed. You had really an incredible lineup, speakers and attendees. And I would love to kind of like walk through how you pulled that together, especially around getting all those great speakers on stage.
Sure, Bobby. I have a question for you, and I think it'll be relevant for the ecosystem too, what's the hardest part of managing speakers for your events?
Well, you know what? Unless you use Innovation Women. So every event manager that I talk to, when I show them that on the Innovation Women platform, they can grab the bio and the headshot, they're like, oh, I have to chase down the speakers to get that. So getting the information from the speakers is always like one of those things. It's got to get them to give you their information. And, obviously there's all that stuff from getting the right speaker in the right place.
Absolutely.
Commitments, information, all of the stuff from the speakers.
Absolutely. I think it's the same thing for us too, is getting the speaker ready, getting the speaker data, getting them ready so they actually can make a difference, right? So our philosophy is really for economic development, is really governed by community taking collective action, and also building a long-lasting relationship to unlock access, because ours is a economic access platform. So the first thing that we do is, to do any events, is we actually write a strategic narrative for each year. And we think about what is the theme that we are going to do. So the first year was collective access. The second year was collective action. The third year was collective power. And the coming year will be collective influence. So it's kind of gets people a theme to work with. And we also really focus, our largest summit, which happens in January, is focused on a celebration of entrepreneurism by women in the industry across the world. So we really focus a lot on celebrating and acknowledging and recognizing it. So when we write our strategic narrative, it allows us to identify the right speakers and advisors to unlock access and take that collective action. So that's the first thing. Most of the events, they do an abstract, but they really don't think about what is the emotion that we have to create and what is the actions that our community needs to do. So then when, and the team starts, especially it's led by Raisa, absolutely a fantastic event manager and a leader. So we set the event strategy, we set the strategic metrics that we want to accomplish, especially business outcomes around the relationships. How many relationships are we forming? What exactly we need to create? What is the energy we need to create? And we go through a lot of discussion with our board of advisors, with our speakers, and we kind of have that energy defined. So mostly people say we want to feel inclusive. So our environment needs to be inclusive. We should be able to meet at least 5 people. And then that means we have to figure out 5 people. They would say we want to be inspired by leaders. Then we have to think about inspirational content. And then they would say, I should be able to take action. So we need best practices and tips and techniques. So we have a lot of ask the experts kind of content. So it's very much, and then to really get more excited, we have the pitch challenge, and then we have is round tables, and then we have, happy hours, which are funny and interesting, and scavenger hunts. We do like kind of keep it exciting. Once we define that one, then we start to work on our tool strategy. And because I'm a tech strategist, it becomes very easy. It comes natural to me. And I want to automate everything on the planet, right? I don't want those Excel spreadsheets. And I want the team to really be focused on nurturing the audience. That is our speaker and sponsor audience. Those are very important. And we take our speakers as one of on the pedestal. We really put them on a pedestal and make sure that we are giving them everything so they can unlock infinite opportunities. So once we have it, the tools gets defined. So here are some tools that we use. One is registrations has to be very simple. So we go with Eventbrite because everybody has a username and password. I don't even test that model. And like something that's working, let's work with them. Yes, they do take a more transaction fee. Doesn't really matter because the flexibility is there. Then we have is the speaker engagement platform for managing the speakers and sponsor communication follow-up, collecting all the data. So we never get a single headshot and bio in our email. And Bobby, that technology was built because we had the struggle. Now it's available for every speaker managers around the world. The third one is we focus a lot around is the event execution, the streaming piece. So we use Remo, and then we also look at Zoom and sometimes BrightTalk. So those are our three event execution platform. Once we have that defined, then we spend a lot of time focusing on our core audience, which is how do we drive content planning, outcomes that we have to create, how do we fulfill the benefits that we have promised them, and also coaching them, because coaching the speaker is crucial, because in the digital world, what we have seen that the great speakers versus not a great speaker is just that they had a very good coach next to them. That's the difference. And then we invest a lot of time on the campaigns, is amplifying the speakers. So we spend a lot of work on the speaker readiness, the sponsor readiness, the community readiness. We actually make our attendees ready before the event. So they come and experiment with all the tools. So on the day of the event, we are not spending time on, I cannot log in, I can't do this. So we have is happy hour like 3 days before the main event. So we make sure that our community is as ready as the speaker and sponsor. And then we invest a lot on the social media promotion to get people engaged. But more than that is our ambassadors and speakers are actually amplifying their own talks, because we can only do so much, but that's the one. So if you think about like the impact we drove, we had like 1,000,005 impressions in 3 weeks before the event. We had over 350 speakers and advisors who are part of the Women in Cloud, and we had 80 companies participate and sponsored, and we had 2,500 people around the world who got access into engaging, and 81 countries participated. So it was actually crazy results, and we actually blew all the numbers, and it was exhausting. Trust me, it was very exhausting doing the online event, but none of the team felt exhausted. They felt really fulfilled serving our ecosystem.
That's great. Now, you mentioned that you use Remo as your platform, but you customize the living daylights out of that. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about what was going on there?
So we looked at least 25 different platforms. Every event platform we have reviewed, from Hopin to, name it, Social 27 to all the other platforms in between. And the Remo platform, what made us go gravitate is the environment felt more like human environment. We could approach it as a human connection can be formed, and also have humans have the flexibility to hop from table to table, because people don't like to be blocked in a room. And most of the events platform, it's designed for putting people in a room and not allowing them to come out, right? And that was one. People like to see the movement of people. Like if you stand in an event, if you're standing on a stage, you can see people love to move from one table. They want to say hi, they want to meet, they want to connect. And that was the intention, was to create that connection, that human experience. And also it's inclusive, because we don't have a badge now, right? Your name card or name plate card. And people can just walk in and meet an EVP or a corporate VP or a CEO of a company. That is pretty exciting, that you have made it so accessible and you're connecting as humans, not because you have a title or you have that. And the second one is the speakers also could be engaging with each other very easily. So once the event was done, they are not like checking off from your event. They actually were asked to be present. The third thing so those are kind of the benefits of it. And the thing that which I loved about the Remo was customizing the environment to really reflect the theme of the experience, because most of our experience is 2-hour experience. Yes, it's a long, but it's 2 hours, and those 2 hours were designed in such a way that could evoke an emotion. For example, we had a donut stand for the youth experience. For adults, we was a coffee station. For speaking readiness, we had a stage.
And just to be clear, a virtual coffee station.
Yes, a virtual one. And people did get a Starbucks card if they went there and answered some questions and had a good conversation. So we made it like a very human interaction. So we could do all that in remote. So when people entered, they felt like they were entering a summit, a true summit in a virtual environment, and meet like amazing people in the room.
That's great. Now, you have a more, I will call it curatorial approach to your speaker lineup. Can we talk about how you do that and how that approach evolved?
Sure. When we did our in-person events, we focused a lot on curation of an experience. So curation of an experience was a thought leadership topic that we want everybody to hear. So that means the environment needs to have like 800 to 1,000 people who could come and be there, but mostly listening was the one. The second one we do is curation. We focus a lot on kind of creating where the audience is the real part of the event. They're engaging in an event. So I really think about kind of a real life analogy is when you invite people to your house for a dinner, you want to create an experience for them. So they're interacting. So they're not just sitting and eating food and going away. They are actually talking. We are playing games. We are interacting. So I bring the same kind of hosting a party within an event. So everybody feels like they're doing something. So that for us was a very important thing. And also, we are not an events organization, so it made it really helpful for us to do. It's like, how do you build a community, even in the midst of pandemic? Because we grew our events, I would say registrations and things, we grew very, very quickly. And the way we look at the approach is unlocking economic access. So to do that one, we light up our speaker that they are the center of attention, and we put a lot of energy in making them shine. So shining means really diamonds, right? They shine really well. So what we have developed is a golden speaker triangle framework, which focuses on three core areas: is invest in speakers, making sure the speakers are feeling that they are getting what they really need. That means they are getting kind of the placement of on a social media. We are amplifying their work. We are getting them connected. We are making sure that they are closer to their goals. The second piece is access, unlocking access for them. The reason why they're speaking is they have an agenda that they want to achieve. So we make sure that we help them achieve the agenda by not direct sales, but relationship sales. So we make that easy for them. And third one is the relationship, is accelerating their goals as quickly as possible. If they come to Women in Cloud and if they speak, they will be embraced by our community. And when they are offering their service, people don't push back. And we actually amplify their work, because when they are not getting the attention of the audience, we actually will help them, teach them, give them the right skilling to make sure that they get what they're looking for. At the end of the day, women who are coming to our events are business owners. Not everybody was taught how to do business effectively. So sometimes you don't know how to sell, you will stumble, and our community is very forgiving. So when that happens, we step in, we help them get what they need. And that makes this curation process much more easier when we look at our speaker is, can we add value and can they add value to our community? So it's a relationship based.
So you're really looking to have the speakers do more than just present and leave.
Yes, that's correct.
And, let's dive into a little bit about your expectations of the speakers.
Oh boy, this is going to be a tough one, but I'll share it, right? Our goal to engage a speaker is to create a belonging for them and for our community, and also help them realize their own potential, because the speaker may come with a very specific intention, but it has to be a give and get kind of model. It has to be very clear. So the first thing that we look at is when they put in their application is their speaker bio. how they talk about them. Are they talking about themselves, or they're truly there to serve a community? So I can look at a bio and I say, oh, well, maybe they are not ready. If they are not ready, let's give them a specific activities. We'll see how they work, and then we go in. The second one is we look at the talk and we assess in the following order when we look at the speaker. One, they don't have a butterfly effect. That means they just hop, 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 hop from event to event. It's about them. It's not about the community, because the event organizers, if you really think about it, truly the event organizers in any community, they're really focused on building a community. They're not expecting you to come and create chaos and take things from us. You are not mining the resources. The second is they do not have a prima donna effect on anyone, because that one event organizers cannot deal with it. I can't deal with it because it's just too stressful. We don't want to give red carpet for everything that you need. We want you to really create a red carpet for the community. When you do so, we will automatically will be doing it. The other one is we don't like our speakers to disrespect our event managers and my team, and also other speakers. We are here to create access and amplification of your work. So be gentle, be nice, be kind. When you can fight, if you can't do anything, at least you can be kind to people, right? We also look for speakers. First is like, do they constantly complain and they don't show up and they're extremely hard to work? And it's very simple. We go to the social media, check how they interact on Twitter. That gives us a very clear view. Are you combative? Are you difficult to work with? Are you a right fit and a culture for the community? And the last one is how they talk about the other communities and also your community, because speakers come in and they'll take everything and they'll start, bad mouthing a community. And that hurts because it takes years to build a good community. And the last one is gratefulness. Are you really grateful to the opportunity that you're given? And can you express that? Because when you are in the mode of expressing, you actually get whatever you want, because the universe will create that energy towards you. But if you're negative, you only get negative. And the last one is we don't pay our speakers. We expect our speakers to donate their expertise towards the movement and the advancement of others. And by doing so, you will get access into the bigger markets, bigger, executives who have the big wallets who can do business with you. So those are kind of the areas that we always look for. So it's not a black and white. It's really a very subtle assessment. You can have a beautiful title on your talk. However, we look at you as a human, as a character, and as a person. Can you serve a community, or it's self-serving for you?
Gotcha. All right. And I'm going to jump in right here and say, hey, folks, if you have a question, please drop it into the Q&A and we will get to it. I could keep asking you questions for hours, but I do want our audience to also have an opportunity to ask questions as well. Women in Cloud isn't really your day job. Can you give us a little peek into your day and how you're keeping all the balls in the air?
Oh boy, that's a good question. So let me try. So I run two companies, and the company is, I'm a co-founder and CMO at Mela. So we help companies with integrated digital marketing using cloud technologies. So the three ways we do is streamline our events infrastructure. So really the tech infrastructure and the experience infrastructure, automate digital campaigns, and build integrated dashboards. Those are the three things we do, and mostly focuses on a mid to enterprise level companies. So what we do is really focus on what we are really good at, and then truly focus on serving a customer and their ecosystem. So we do not go and take customers like randomly. We are very deliberate in our approach, and we work with companies who actually focus a lot on long-term impact rather than short-term. So for juggling both of them, really, I take a lot of classes to really become highly productive. And the new book I read was Effortless, and that has changed the way I look at, how to think about your habits and how you think about taking action with your team and for your family. So that has been really wonderful. And the third one is self-care, a lot of self-care. So I do a lot of cooking. I do a lot of artwork, from knitting to doing diamond painting. So I love doing those things to keep my mind a little bit more calmer, because the switching that happens every day, Bobby, running multiple companies, this constant switching, constant movement with people, the constant giving. Sometimes you also have to figure out an internal charge mechanism. And every day I do dedicate anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour dedicated for myself. And it can be just going for a workout, doing something, but it's for me and it's much more of my time. And I've not mastered it yet, but I'm working at it. So that has been one of the ways to kind of keep all the balls up in the air. But mostly I make sure my relationships are not impacted with what I do.
Gotcha. So speaking of relationships, your team, you partnered with so many different organizations besides Innovation Women. Do you have a partner strategy you can talk about?
Yes, absolutely, Bobby. I came from a partnering world. I was at Oracle and Microsoft doing their partnering strategy and using a technology to do partnering. So I also built, it was a framework called as P2P, partner to partner strategy, and a maturity model around it. So I've done a lot of work in that space. And I have learned is co-building, co-marketing, and co-selling is the only way you can scale yourself to achieve mutual success, mutual goals. And I bring in the same framework because I personally, I would say I plus Women in Cloud plus Mela, we do not get threatened by partners. We actually enjoy creating together. And our vision is also, and mission statement and value statement is co-creating. Let's co-create together, because then you can go and acquire bigger markets together. And you also can bring in a very differentiated solution, because the talent workforce on both the side can come together to create something unique, because when you do unique, that's when the market loves it. So that has been very, very cool. And we also took a big goal that, to have 100 million women in our network. And we cannot do it by ourselves. But when you bring in like 26 groups together and we do a collective action and create value together, that's when you can reach 100 million very easily. So that's kind of the model. So I do have a maturity model for any organization when you're embarking on your partner strategy. And then what is the value that you have to create? So you are not taking away their market share, you're actually accelerating. So for example, Bobby, when we partnered with you, we knew we will never go into your ecosystem, right? Synergistic. We want to make sure all women are having access to Innovation Women. We created offers. We have our own community. We're giving access. And when time comes, when they are ready, they know that this is a pathway for them to get access to industry stages. And you already have done heavy lifting of that. I don't have to do that. And the partnering really works very well because it's a mutual give and get at that time.
Absolutely. So if someone is interested in getting involved with your events, they want to sponsor, they want to be on stage, they want to attend, I mean, what do you suggest?
Very simple. If you're trying to get on that journey to become a speaker, first attend one of our events and see if it really connects to your soul, not to your heart, to your soul, that it really inspires you and it feels like you belong in this community. Once you feel like there's a belonging, then apply to speak. We would love when people apply at Women in Cloud, I would say 99% of the people who apply, they get an opportunity to speak throughout the year. And we never say no, because we know it's hard to get access to stages. So we are very open. The only time when we say no is really your behaviors. That's what you need to work on. The next one is help an entrepreneur. If you can help an entrepreneur to unlock access to your Rolodex of contacts, and you can accelerate them. What happens is the entrepreneurs are letting us know is the community members who are making a difference. We will come and create access for them, right? So that's how we look at. So think about attending our events, usually mostly are free. If you need us to underwrite, we'll underwrite for you, apply to speak. If you have some really good content for entrepreneur content or leadership content, we will have you come and speak, and then help an entrepreneur, help Bobby, help me, help others, help us, come there with a full Rolodex of people who can really make women stand out in this 21st century, and they can contribute.
Yeah, and you've been making real progress towards your economic development goals.
That's right.
So you're like, all right, I'm going for $1 billion. Like,
Yes.
what is the progress looking like?
It's looking very good. So we have our cloud accelerator, which allows women entrepreneurs to win enterprise opportunities. And we have taken over, 55 companies through it in 8 countries, and we're going through it. They have already got access to over $100 million in economic access. And this year, we are stretching our goal to get another 100 million. And as part of doing that, but pandemic has definitely put in like a lot of stress on the system. So we are also we are also having is a global crisis for women in tech because of the lack of representation, because people are leaving the industry and not coming back in. There's a lack of supplier diversity allocation. That is another space we need to address, because only 3% of corporate procurement dollars and 5% of federal contracts are going to women-owned firms. So that's something we have to address. And lack of investments that are, available for women to build tech innovation. And the last one is the displacement of jobs for women in the tech industry. So there's a lot of areas that is constituting to a global crisis. So we have expanded our mission right now to help all the areas, all the 3 pillars around representation, and then job displacement, and also access for women in the customer market. So when you look at that, there's a lot of work we have to do. But what we are, it's bright and promising. It is making a big difference, because we know we have to exist right now to help women move through this and feel like they can reskill themselves, upskill themselves, and start to build a business, and there's access to capital to make that happen.
We have a question from the audience. Actually, I think you were probably heading in this direction. Where do you see women in cloud going in 2021, probably 2022, post-pandemic, hopefully?
Sure. So Bobby, as I talked about, so we have identified is the global crisis. We have put in a narrative. Right now, we are spending a lot of time working with the Fortune 1000 brands and inviting them to create a $1 billion access coalition. So that's the first one, is to make sure they're all committing to helping diversity and inclusion in the employee ecosystem, in the supplier ecosystem, and channel ecosystem. So that's something we are working. And we already have, Microsoft, Insight, Accenture, Boeing, M12. They're all committed right now to make that impact. So that's going in the right direction. The second piece is helping women recover and have an economic relief from this one. So we have launched the Empower Her digital advocacy campaign that is happening right now. So we are doing a lot of research on the COVID-19 impact in 2021 and 2020. What is happening? So we want to hear from you that allows us to really develop the right programs and solutions. And events is a way to kind of bring that, programs to the market and make it easily accessible for you. And number 3 is making sure the entrepreneurship piece, which is making sure that they are ready. They are ready to take their solution, get into the enterprise market, win that, and have is our advisor network easily accessible for them to move through it. So there are things like we have people in Canada want to do business in Africa or India. Our network makes it very easy for you to do it. So those are the kind of areas. And the last one is the government piece. We are trying to still figure out how to work with the government right now to really help with the economic relief programs. Right now, they're all in a public health and health crisis, so we are not disturbing in that piece. But I think we are close where economic relief and recovery will be a high priority for the countries, and we will be ready for that.
Gotcha. So you may have answered this because during that conversation, question came in. It said, "What does the commitment look like?" And so I think you might have answered it.
Yes. So
And
I think I did answer that one.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Gave a lot of detail, I think, after. Um, Another question from our audience. Do you prefer events stay virtual or go back to in person?
This is a great question. I think about this one. Now that we are all vaccinated, do we want to stay virtual or go back? One thing I've realized from the virtual piece, the inclusion that happened was fantastic. We made a level playing field for every woman and man to be access knowledge and access people very easily. So I don't want to replace that. I really want to make sure that particular skilling and that particular access is not going away. So here is how I think what the hybrid environment is going to be is we'll still have the virtual events, so we make sure everybody is there. But when we are going to meet in person, it has to be so unique that creates true mobilization. That would be mostly round tables that we want to do. It would be celebrations and awards that we want to do, because that requires that, the emotional impact that is required for those experiences. Third one is it would be more smaller groups. I don't know whether we are ready for bringing 2,500 people in one arena and going to do an event. I think we will keep more in person, is more smaller groups, more deliberate networking and connection, and virtual would be expansion of making sure the entire world is able to engage with us.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people who are not deeply involved in the events world don't realize the amount of runway that you need for a live event,
Absolutely.
in terms of bookings and travel and everything else. You can't
Exactly.
just turn it on. It has to be booked ahead of time. So,
Absolutely. And it's
yeah.
also good, Bobby, like if you think about the virtual events, you can engage from your home. Everybody's comfortable with tech. Imagine we can have so many women become speakers through this work. It's fabulous. Like 350 people becoming speakers through our network. That's huge. That's like we are an industry recognized stage now and an event. So think about having that kind of a brand recognition makes it really good. But when you do in person, we can't scale for so many people. So that's a kind of a pro and a con there.
Absolutely. And so, what does the future hold for Women in Cloud? What are we looking at going forward? Are you going to be going live in 2022?
From an events perspective, right?
Yeah.
So we will still have the virtual, and the hybrid is still that we are exploring what that hybrid model looks like. But I think we'll start with smaller round tables in different countries led by our brand ambassadors, like having them come and have a dinner conversation, or it may be advisory conversation, but very intimate conversation at a location level. And at a global level, we probably are still thinking through what that state experience would look like, mostly entrepreneurs to meet with advisors and buyers and influencers in the ecosystem. That would be something we definitely will look at. From a speaker perspective, I really look at as a leadership skilling. So we may do is a lot of education around women to have a 1 day of leadership skilling, but where they're learning public speaking, they're learning about executive coaching, like executive presence. And those are kind of the skills you need. So it would be more value-based experiences that we will put in place.
Gotcha. And you've been doing, I mean, we've been talking mostly about the summit, but you have ongoing events throughout the year.
Yes, yes. So, Bobby, we have 4 signature events that happens. One starting with the January, then we have it at the International Women's Day, and a tandem event with Microsoft Inspire, and then it's a tandem event with the UNGA during the United Nations. So those are our 4 signature events. Then we partner with our partner organization to bring access for speakers to be on other industry stages. So that's kind of how we work. So that we, over a year, we look at like 1,000 to 1,500 people have got access to speak on Women in Cloud and our partner stages. So that's our mission. Like, as I said, very tangible, business outcome driven.
Great. All right. I think we are reaching the end of our time here. Any last tips, wrap up, admonishments?
I would say 3 things is first is please come and experience our events so you have an idea of what that events look like, and so that you can apply to speak through the Innovation Women, because we do constantly share opportunities from the platform. So keep yourself engaged. So if you have not decided to make that decision, please sign up with Innovation Women. That's like number 1 action for all of you. Number
Pay
2,
off later. Thanks.
yes, Bobby, I think people don't realize the value that you create. And I think I'm acknowledging because I'm the benefactor of that value that you have created. The second thing is when you are if you are an events manager, think about technology automation, because virtual events are going to be more and more. If you don't develop your technical competency, then it will be hard. It will be exhausting to manage your events in virtual, in your Excel spreadsheet. So come and work with Bobby and us and other industry experts, so you actually have the proficiency of being an amazing event producer. Now, for speakers, please apply to speak at Women in Cloud events. And right now, if you're an entrepreneur listening, please take the COVID-19 survey that we have rolled out. It is important. We need to hear from you. And that kind of data will help us really move the policy changes and also recommend new policies that we need for women to be successful.
Where do they get access to that survey?
They can go to womenincloud.com and they can click on the Empower Her Access campaign, and they will be able to get there.
Great. Okay. So just going to jump in with our thank you to our sponsors, and that is Lioness Magazine and My Speaker Leads. This live event was brought to you by both of those organizations. Lioness Magazine is an online publication and is the go-to source for everything related to female entrepreneurs. And My Speaker Leads delivers 100 plus event leads per week directly to your inbox. And so also, don't forget, we have this great code for our people who are joining us today. IW Webinar gets you 20% off your first year on Innovation Women. And I also want to say a big thank you to Chaitra Vedullapalli. How was that?
You did fantastic.
I practiced it earlier and I was like, I'm going to screw this up.
Great. You did great.
You know what? Every speaker totally gets nervous, and I am not immune to that. So I urge all speakers to keep that in mind, right? When you are a speaker, everybody gets nervous. So it's okay.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right. Thank you again for joining us today, Chaitra. And thank
you.
you all for joining us at home. If you have any questions, you know that we are always here for you on the speaker stage across the world. So thanks again and take care, everyone.
Thank you.